Hier drückt die Galaxie mich verrückt. Ich zünde die Raketenstiefel, tauche in die Weltraumtiefe. Ich fliege los.
Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889 in Braunau, Austria. His father, Alois, was a customs officer in the Austrian government, even though he came from humble beginnings with little education. Alois was very harsh with his children, while his wife, Kara, was very protective of them. Hitler formed a very close bond with Kara, and he became very attached to her. Hitler was not a very good student, since he was more interested in the fine arts than he was in doing his schoolwork. His teachers thought he was arrogant and ill-tempered, but that he was very willful. When Hitler was 14, his father died, and 2 years later he dropped out of school. Growing up, Hitler didn't have many close friends except for Gussel Kuziak, who helped him develop his superb speaking skills. When Hitler was 18 years old, he moved to Vienna, Austria to escape the boredom of his current town, Leonding, even though his mother was dying of cancer. He lived there from February of 1908 to May of 1913. Soon after making the move, Hitler became depressed after his mother's death and from being rejected from the Academy of Fine Arts twice. He used up all of his inheritance money and took up odd jobs in order to earn a living. He lived in solitude since he hardly had any friends, and his only source of amusement came from the operas that glorified Germany and its culture. Hitler began to read a lot of German history, and thus started to develop his anti-Semitic beliefs. These views were greatly influenced by Karl Lueger, who was the mayor of Vienna when Hitler lived there. Lueger blamed Jews for the problems that plagued Europe and for the decline of German supremacy. Hitler admired Lueger because he was comfortable with big city crowds and knew how to control their protests and turn them into political gain. Then, in 1913, Hitler left Austria and moved back to Munich, Germany. Unlike most people, Hitler liked the idea of war. He claimed that it gave him a sense of purpose and belonging. So, when World War I started, he volunteered to be a part of the Austrian military, enlisting in the 16th Bavarian Infantry Regiment. During his service, Hitler was messenger and eventually became a corporal. He even received decorations for bravery, including the prestigious Iron Cross First Class, despite the fact that many believed him to be a poor soldier. Hitler seemed to be unaffected by the hardships and destruction of war, but he was unhappy when Germany was losing the war in 1918. He blamed the Jews and communists for this, and his resentment only intensified when Germany adopted a democracy in which a president and a parliament was elected in 1919. Hitler was extremely angry over the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed very harsh terms on Germany, and he vowed to restore the country to what it was before the war.
In my book, Mein Kampf, the book includes events from my youth, early days in the Nazi Party, future plans for Germany, politics, and race. The book divides humans into categories based on their physical appearance. Aryans usually have blonde hair and blue eyes, and they are culturally superior. I discussed the battle between Aryans and Jews and accused the Jews of conducting international conspiracy. The blood purity between the two would ensure the survival of the Aryan race because they're culturally superior.
After the end of World War I, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party, which later became the National Socialist German Workers' Party, also known as the Nazis. During this time, he practiced his speaking skills and became a very skilled public speaker. He began to gain political power, which gave him the confidence to attempt to overthrow the Bavarian government. This failed, though, and he was sentenced to 5 years in Landsberg prison, although he was released after only 9 months. Then, in the 1920s, Germany was suffering from huge economic problems, and Hitler was able to gain power and win elections through his promises of job security and an improved economy. Many people looked to him for support and believed in his leadership.
On January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of the Nazi Party. This was possible because the National Socialist German Workers' Party assumed control over Germany. The then President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Hitler Chancellor of the Nazis at the head of a coalition government. At this time, the Nazis and the German Nationalist People's Party were the members of the coalition. This was the start of Hitler's rise to power. Within his first 3 months of power, Hitler arranged the first of many anti-Jewish boycotts. This economic boycott targeted Jewish-owned businesses and the offices of Jewish professionals. The Nazis stated that German and foreign Jews were spreading atrocity stories in efforts to damage Germany's reputation, which, according to the Nazis, would justify their later actions. Nazi stormtroopers stood in front of Jewish-owned department stores and retail stores, as well as outside the offices of Jewish professionals. They held signs and shouted slogans such as "Don't buy from the Jews" and "The Jews are our misfortune" in an effort to prevent Jewish businesses from making any money. This boycott marked the beginning of a nationwide campaign by the Nazis against Jews in Germany that would snowball into the Holocaust. This boycott was minor compared to the future atrocities that Jews would face, but nonetheless marked the beginning of a campaign of pure hate. In addition to this, one of Hitler's first moves was to exile artists who did not promote his ideologies through their paintings and who refused to support his propaganda. Next, Hitler turned his hatred of Jews into national policy of mass extermination through the creation of death camps. On March 22, 1933, the first concentration camp was officially established. On the outskirts of Dachau, Germany, Hitler's regime, known as the Schutzstaffel, opened this first concentration camp. Initially, this concentration camp was used to incarcerate political opponents, but broadened its use to include forced labor, the imprisonment of Jews, the imprisonment of German and Austrian criminals, and eventually foreign nationals from countries which Germany occupied or invaded. It was a milestone in the sense that it marked the first of many concentration camps that would be built during the Holocaust. Between the years of 1933 and 1945, nearly 188,000 prisoners were incarcerated at this location. There were 32,000 documented deaths and tens of thousands of more that went undocumented. This camp was not liberated until 1945.
I believe the main cause behind the Holocaust is religious supremacy. Intolerance allowed the Holocaust to occur. No human race is superior. No religious faith is inferior. All collective judgments are wrong. Only racists make them. Whenever men and women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must at that moment become the center of the universe. I think the Holocaust killed so many people because everyone believed what Hitler said he would. He was believable to the Jews, the Nazis, his supporters, and his skeptics. I had more faith in Hitler than anyone else. He alone kept his promises, all his promises to the Jewish people. He has never let down what he had told everyone what he would do.
Hörst du wieder Biete, drückt die Galaxie mich verrückt. Ich zünde die Raketenstiefel, tauche in die Weltraumtiefe. Ich fliege los,